good morning or afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another day of agent training. My name is Ilona Robbins. I am from the Plymouth office, and I'm coming today to speak to you about pre-listing aspect. You know, that thing that we love to do. Everyone loves to get the listing. We love to get a contract, sign it with our sellers, but sometimes we often forget the step that happens before we get in front of a seller in the contract. And that is kind of what happens before, the pre-listing aspect. So today I'm going to go over some things that I have learned. When I first was new to real estate, you know, there's so much information, right? All these things. It's really overwhelming of all these things and information that was given and shared to me by great source of experienced agents, trainers, and as I was going through it, and I encourage everyone else, is, you know, to pick and choose the things that really resonate with you, right? And then to start implementing those aspects. So this was something that I implemented very early on in my career, and it resonated with me. I started doing pre-listing packages, which we'll talk about a little later on. And from there, it actually helped take me from a new agent to like a superstar in the company real quickly. In my first year, kind of out of the box as a new agent, you know, closing 12 transactions, that was really great, and moving on from there. So I hope that you will find this extremely to resonate with you as well. It's simple things that are relatively easy to kind of put into practice, but once you can start doing that and you can rinse and repeat it, the benefit and the value, which we'll talk about and you'll see as we go through here, is outstanding and renowned. So pre-listing is what we're talking about today. And one of the biggest aspects about pre-listing for us is making sure that, you know, we as Lions, right, that's who we are doing several things. First, it is Lions are, you know, who are you? The interview aspect. The other aspect is the package, right? How do we add value to our clients? And then the other aspect is the inspection. You know, Lions, as who we are as Lair Lions, are always constantly seeking knowledge, right? That's what we're here to do. Because when it comes to our sellers, it's important to remember that they don't have all the information. That's our job as agents, right? We gather the information for them, and then our responsibility is to provide it to them so that they can make the best choices and decisions for themselves and for their products and for their homes. With that, you know, I always come across this great saying that, you know, realtors control the process and sellers sellers control the decisions. But we as realtors have a really hard time to try to figure out exactly what they're praying for, right? We're trying to decode what it is sellers are asking for and what it is that they are seeking to do with their property. And it comes down to that knowledge aspect about the property, their reasons, but more in personality, in regards to their personality that they have. And this really comes into play in regards to the pre-listing interview. So you have someone who's called you up and said, hey, great, I have a property that I would like to sell. And most times that conversation happens when we are sitting nicely at our desks in the office and we have ample amounts of paper and pens, right? That happens all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, not at all. It happens when I am like at Market Basket with 2 kids in tow. It happens when I am driving in my car and someone calls me up. It happens when it has happened when I'm at church before as well, and somebody sent me a text message and they need to talk to me right away. And it's those moments where you can be very quickly caught off guard by that phone call conversation. Because you want to, innately, our response as humans is we want to gather that information, right? We want to appease that person on the other line. And then as we're going through the conversation, okay, in Market Basket, in our car driving, and if we're not prepared, then we get off the phone and we're driving some more, or we're going to get the eggs, and then we're just like, oh, I forgot to ask them this question. Or, oh my goodness, I forgot to ask them, you know, how many bathrooms are in the house, right? We thought we got all this information. So making sure that we have a place where we can gather all that information is extremely important. So a pre-listing interview is amazing. And it is actually in Jostle. I'm going to show it to you real quickly as we come over here. There is in Jostle, under buyer and sellers questionnaire, there is a pre-listing interview. A pre-listing interview gives us the ability to make sure that we gather A, all the information, and B, more importantly, understand who it is that we are talking to. Okay? And for that, it is extremely important. So pre-listing interview, right? It gives you all the information. You have your name, the property, mailing address, right? All that basic information. Owners, who are the decision makers, which is extremely important because you might be talking with one person. However, there is somebody else that's also in the equation that's making the decisions. I just had that with a seller. She told me, Ilona, I need you to come out and take a look at my house. Okay, great. As we're going through all of this, I said, all right, well, who else is going to be making these choices and decisions with you? Oh, well, my husband. Okay, great. Anybody else? Anyone else that I need to be aware of that will be making these choices and decisions with you? Oh, no, my husband and I. I'm like, okay, that is fantastic and great. So that's all she told me. I did my little bit more due diligence as I'm going through it. And guess what? Her mother is also on the deed to the house, right? So now we realize that there really is three people that I need to work with. So really understanding who the decision makers are huge. And while you're doing this, reasons for selling, these are always great questions. Reasons for selling, when do you need to move by? Could you describe your house for me? All important questions. How long have you owned your house? As you're going through it, what sold you on your house when you bought it? What features did you love? Because obviously that's going to be the features that you're going to talk about when you go look at the house. Oh my goodness, you love the backyard. This backyard is fabulous, right? It means that you're actively listening to them. Have you done any updating to the house? If you were to stay in your home another 5 years, what would you like? I'm just running through these questions. As you can see, we're starting to A, have a conversation with the potential seller, and B, we're gaining some really helpful information because how they respond to you is also going to give us an indication of who they are personality-wise as well. I love some of these rest of these questions. If you consider selling for sale by owner, how many times have we asked a seller that question? Really important one, because if all they're doing is just trying to gain information as a realtor, might that adjust how you're going to spend their time? As well, it might mean that you might need to bring in a little bit more information and to let them know and to share with them what we do as realtors that they wouldn't joke with me. He says, you've lost your fry catcher. And at first I said, what do you mean my fry catcher? He goes, yes, you know that space between the console and the front seat where the French fries always fall? He says, you've lost it. And I said, yes, I have. It is the perfect place for a file folder. So these questionnaires, I would print out 10 to 12 of them, and I would put them in a file folder, and I would stick them right there in between my seat and the console. I would have some for sellers, which we're talking about today, and some for buyers as well. It's a perfect location. So therefore, if I'm out at Market Basket, if I'm out someplace in my everyday, I always know my car is with me, thank goodness, happy and grateful, that I know that I have those sheets that I can get to them and I can pull them out. I can pull off of the side of the road. I can ask somebody if I can call them right back, and so I can get out and get that sheet in front of me so I can fill in all of the information. So I welcome you to replace your fry catcher in your car with an envelope. One of the aspects too is when we're going through this questionnaire, let me just advance us back to where we were, is as you're talking to these clients and you're gaining the insight to what it is that they are asking for and looking for in regards to a realtor, you're also gaining the information as to their personality types. Recently, we had a training class on personality types, so make sure that you go back and look at that information because there's multiple personality types. We don't like to necessarily pigeonhole any one person into a personality types, but we as humans tend to have one that will dominate over other ones. And as realtors, it's extremely helpful to make sure that we can have that and figure out who it is that we're talking to. Dominant and influential, compliant, steady. I refer to them as my power personalities. my peace personalities, my perfection personalities, and one of my favorites, party personality, right? All 4 of them will have different responses. So for instance, you're interacting with a power personality on the phone. All right, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner, I'd love to get together and have a meeting for you. Sure, great. My time that you can come and meet with me is going to be, like, they'll tell you when they want you to be there, right? Or you could be interacting with somebody who is a peace personality. Oh, just tell me when a good time for you to come would be and I'll be available, right? You could also have a perfectionist as well. A perfectionist sometimes can follow the same lines in regards to a peace personality, but they're going to want very detailed, specific information. Okay, want you to come at such and such a time. You can park outside on the main street, right? And they give you detailed information. The party personality might say something along the lines of, great, meet me down at the restaurant and we'll sit down at the bar and we'll sit down and we'll talk and we'll go over the paperwork. Or meet me at the coffee shop. So very different personalities in regards to how they might interact with you. And that's important for several reasons for us as realtors in regards to how we are interacting with our clients. So you have your dominant, powerful energy, direct communication, very decisive, time and task oriented, and a natural leader, that power personality that comes across. That is going to dictate A, how I'm going to do my listing presentation, correct? And B, it also comes into place in regards to my pre-listing package and information, what I am going to be putting in there. Question?
Yeah, so as you're meeting with them and learning about them, you're trying to decide which one of them might be the dominant person.
Yes. That's part of the pre-listing. So pre-listing interview, pre-listing package, all of this is coming together so that I can have an understanding of who this seller is when I go before I meet with them. I come across as a powerful personality as well. So me interacting with another personality, can you see something like this happening sometimes, right? So having that pre-listing interview allows me to say, all right, Ilona, you might have to just bring down your power personality just a little, right? So that we can help this seller sell their house. But that really allows us to facilitate that conversation. In regards to the pre-listing packets, it also means that I'm going to put material in differently as well. Dominant personalities, high energy, direct communication, they like bullet points, right? They don't like to read all of the writing, right? So I might move things in my pre-listing packets that resonate more with the power personality. In regards to an influential, enjoys the spotlight, likes to be liked, life of the party, warm and honest, a natural talker, those are your party personalities, right? They want to know who you know. For those individuals, I might put all of my referrals in references to the top of my pre-listing package, right? Because they want to know who I know. They want to see if I know the same people that they know in town as well. So I might want to make sure that my pre-listing package has that information up at the top for them. And then you have your compliant personalities. Those are your perfectionists. They love to analyze. They are a stickler for rules, often a perfectionist, reads the terms and conditions. Those are excellent ones to make sure that all contracts that they're going to sign, make sure that once again, those are in the listing presentation pre-listing packages with the water seal on them. Why? Because they're going to want to read all of those contracts word by word. If you give it to them beforehand, right? And then when you're sitting in front of them, meeting with them, guess what? You've completely taken the edge off of it. They've already read the listing contract. They've already read all of those disclosure sheets before because you provided it for them, okay? So kind of really trying to figure out who it is, that personality that you're going to be meeting with. A steady and stable, they're a loyal team player, focus on community, likes to research, calm and caring energy, natural supporter. Those are your peace personalities, right? They don't like to make waves until a tsunami hits. Okay, these are the clients that we interact with who they go along with everything. Oh, yep, absolutely. I will do what you're asking me to do. And they don't want to make any waves. They don't want to make any ripples. But then all of a sudden when they realize, oh my God, I can no longer work with their agent, they up and disappear and stop calling you. And you're just like, what happened? I thought we had this great connection. Because they don't want to make a bigger deal about things. They want to keep everything nice and peaceful. So for them as well, when I'm putting together information and packets of information, I try to be sensitive to what they're looking for as well. Focus on the community. So you might want to add aspects of what you do, community outreach that you do. They might want to have that in your pre-listing package as well. So if there's something that your office is involved in a coat drive as well, and you have a flyer from a previous year, you want to add that in there as well for them. That is something that would resonate with them as well. Great ideas, right? You start the wheel. I see the wheels turning on some of you as we're talking right now for it. But these all come into play in regards to who it is and how we are going to interact with them. And more importantly, in regards to the pre-listing package. So when I speak with a seller on the phone and I've gathered all this information, I've gone over the questionnaire, and normally I write my notes down at the bottom, potential power personality. This looks like this might be a perfectionist. I'll note this down, and then I will go ahead and I will start my pre-listing package and making sure that I have that all in there. The bulk of this is already ready. Okay, just like you have your fry catcher, right? Your folder with all of your pre-listing interviews. This is something as well that I try to always have, 4 or 5 of them always on hand, ready to go in the office, at home, so that I can just take them, maybe reshuffle a few of them, and go and drop them off. So my conversation with the seller on the phone after I've done their interview is great. I'm looking forward for us meeting on Tuesday at 5:30. That's scheduled time that I'm going to come and take a look at the house. I do have a pre-listing package that I always drop off for home for my sellers. Is it all right if I drop something off? You don't need to be there, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner. I'm just going to drop it off at your house, maybe on your front door if there's a place that I can put it. It's just for you. I want to make sure that you have all the information before we meet. Very few agents do this. Second, when I go and drop it off, I have my phone ready so that I can take a current, up-to-date exterior picture of the house. So therefore, when you're going to put together your CMA stuff, you have a picture of the house when you come and meet with them on Tuesday. The other thing is it kind of gives me a little bit of a glimpse of maybe where are they in the process. On a scale of 1 to 5, by looking simply on the exterior of a house, you can tell where a potential seller might be, correct? Are they just starting the conversation, or are they at a 10, like bags are packed, they're ready to move? The landscaping is all done, they're ready to go. So it gives me a little bit of that insight as well. So I let them know that I'm going to drop off a pre-listing package, and in it there's several things. One, it's background information, obviously on Lair. You can find all of that and so much more in the Career Gen jostle under the library. Print it off, make sure, print out 10 at a time, put together packets. Bio sheets, okay? This is one of the fun things that I absolutely love, especially for new agents or experienced agents. Our bio sheets are the houses that we have sold. Go back and look through your inventory. Take the past 10 to 12 houses that you have. Might it fit within this range of this potential house that you're looking at? So maybe take your colonials, take the ones in this particular area. Or if you want to show a variety of what you've sold, take those. Go back and pull the picture, right, of the property. You can do the street name with it. You can put sold next to it, and you can add the price point, maybe the sale price and the list price and the sale price next to it, okay? That, as an agent, is your bio card. What have you done? It's what you've sold. Putting that together in a pre-listing package, it's almost like letting it all speak before you even walk into the door. So I strongly and highly recommend that we have a quick sample of what that looks like as well. And then also the listing process of what that looks like, yes.
So if you were not an experienced agent, never sold a house before in your life, what would you possibly use in place of that?
So another aspect to get around that is what has Lair in your office and your community sold. So therefore you switch that over and you just change it, houses that Lair has sold. And then you can, what the team has done, utilizing as a new agent, utilizing the team that's around you is beneficial only as a new agent. So you can use that as well. What has Lair sold? Listing process, testimonials, if you to have any as well in regards to real estate. It's so important as you do. Even if you are a new agent, you have not sold anything, but you're working with buyers. Get a testimonial from them. You know, how's the process going? Hey, can you write me a quick review? Those things are things that you can start right now and adding over into your testimonials. Your marketing stats, that is nothing more than MLS. We forget to utilize that extremely important little drop-down screen in MLS. If you go to Tools, and then from Tools, if you go to Market Reports, you can run a market report on any town in Massachusetts. You can do a 5-year, you can do a quarterly look back. Right now is a perfect time to do a whole 1-year look back from 2019, okay? When you can pull up that look back, you can see how the homes have sold in a town by quarter. So many sellers come to us and say, oh my goodness, winter is just not a good time to sell. I'm like, what? No. Hold on one second. Let's look at the stats. Let's make sure we're making that statement based on education and fact. When you can go back and pull up the MLS data and information and show homeowners that, you know what, it's not that houses don't sell, it's just that inventory is low. But inventory might be low in your town, but the days on market are shorter because there's no inventory. There are still plenty of buyers, and you can demonstrate that. It speaks volumes in words. So making sure that you have market stats in there. A marketing plan. What are you going to provide for marketing plan for a potential listing? Put a sample in there. If you're a newer agent, get a sample of another agent from Lair. Ask them if you can have something in there. And therefore, you can just simply say, this is the marketing that we provide at Lair as well. Brochure samples, and then most importantly, those blank samples, copies of listing docs. Now, with all of these things, all these informations, before we talked about personalities, you can see how I might shuffle some of the packages around a little bit. I might move the testimonial in the bio sheet to the top for particular personalities, as opposed to the blank or sample copies of listing docs for others. I might just shift them and move them around, making sure what would resonate with my seller, being very thoughtful. What would resonate with them is will be at the forefront of that folder. And then I go ahead and I drop it off to them. And as we're dropping off, let me also just show you. This is also a good example of a realtor's bio sheet. So just taking a picture. I went with a $1.1 million house. It just resonated with me at the moment, right? Just to do that, and just to, Jason's the smartest realtor I've ever met before, just doing something fun like that. Lair does a lot of this with our agents. Just making sure that you have that is really great. You can collect them, and if you need help or assistance, you can reach out to one of the admins as well.
Happy agent.
Or Happy Agent. Happy Agent is fantastic. Now, as we're going through and we are dropping off our pre-listing package, my next call is to the florist or to editable arrangements. Depends upon the person and who I'm speaking to. So I tell them that I'm going to drop off a pre-listing package to their house. Great, we've had this conversation. What they do not know is that I've also made arrangements for a thing of flowers to be dropped off to the house as well in advance. And that just goes along with a pre-listing gift. Thank you so much. Thank you for reaching out to me. Looking forward to our meeting on Tuesday. That's it. I once had a client who called me back. I sent them to her work because she worked really long hours. And she called me and she said, oh my goodness, thank you so much for the flowers. They were absolutely beautiful. Everybody in my office is asking me who sent the flowers. I thought it was my husband. I had to tell them no. And I told them that it was my realtor. It was my realtor. I had not sat down and met with her yet. Okay, she was already verbalizing that I was her realtor. And even still, she calls me. She's like, I've got a referral for you. She has sent me numerous referrals. And because people in her office remember that she has a realtor that sends flowers. So sending flowers, sending edible arrangements, The other aspect, I had another seller as well sent flowers out to her house. She had told me as well that she was interviewing several realtors. So when I finally went in and met with her, there at the kitchen table was the arrangement of flowers. And as she's sitting and talking, she said, "Oh yes, 2 other agents have come in and they both commented on what beautiful flowers there were, and I had to tell them that they were yours." Right?
You're not the only one doing that now.
Right. You would be surprised because people don't pick it up because it's an extra step.
Mm-hmm.
It's being intentional. It's those little things that we skip over. Mm-hmm. And those little things add up tremendously. So sending a pre-listing gift, sending out flowers, edible arrangements, just send out cards. They have that aspect as well. So there's a bunch of different ways. Find something that resonates with you, but I strongly and highly recommend doing something as simple as this. It will be memorable. It will outlast the flower arrangements by all means of the impression that you have placed upon this seller and this family as well. So a thank you before and after the listing appointment. And then after the listing appointment, I would normally just put a thank you card in the mail. The flowers and the edible arrangements have already made the statement before the meeting enough as well. So as we're going through this aspect of the pre-listing for houses, the next thing is also when I meet with clients in regards to what it is we're looking for before we're listing a property is a home inspection report. Now, there are 2 sides to this, and I realize this. A pre-listing home inspection does provide a seller with great information, but sometimes it could also provide them with information that they would like to have kept their head buried underground and not to be aware of. So I do say this, that if you're a newer agent, definitely talk this out. Talk to this with an experienced agent as well. Make sure that you're being very thoughtful with this practice and policy. Excuse me, I shouldn't say policy, but this practice, because it is an extremely useful tool. So when I am speaking with sellers, I do remind them that I myself as a realtor do like to have pre-listing home inspections. I would like to have a home inspector come out to your home, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, so that they can inspect the property before it lists. My name is going to be on the sign out in the front yard. I want to make sure that the property that we are going to sell and list on the market, that if there's any deficiencies, that A, we're aware of it, B, there might be things that you want to handle and take care of yourself, and C, there might be things that you weren't aware of that you don't want to handle, and therefore that's going to affect the price that we put this house on the market for. And really having that conversation. Negotiate only once. And it's amazing how other agents do not do this in regards to. And I will tell you, a home inspection one time is amazing for sellers because they don't hear it enough. And as they go through it, they are not thinking of the aspects within their own home that they need to be aware of. They kind of, the things that they gloss over all the time, such as making sure that the broken outlet covers downstairs in the basement that they never go down to are taken care of. That's a simple fix. Making sure that if there is something in the electrical panel, right, they might want to take care of that. Here's an example of some things that have been done. The roof, the water heater, all of those things. Myself personally, this just happened personally as a buyer. So I am in the process of buying a house. We found a house, loved it. The kids loved it, right? The kids came, they saw it, they were picking out bedrooms. We were in. And this was a house that had been on the market for over 200 days. And so finally, it was a very unique, different house. We weren't afraid. As a realtor, I wasn't afraid of unique and different. No big deal. We liked the location. And so we went in, and it was great. We did our home inspection. Fantastic. I told you the house has been on the market for over 200 days, right? Okay. I made sure I told you guys this house has been on the market for over 200 days. Okay, great. So we're at the home inspection, and we were there, and the home inspector, we're going through it. We started the basement. We're making our way up. We're at the top floor, and there is this crawl space, attic space. Now, I remember that I had, as a realtor, I had peeked my head into it. There was no lighting in there. I had my flashlight at the time. I'm like, no, looks good. Empty. Looks like we're good. The home inspector goes in and he blares like all of his lights. And he gives me that look. I'm like, no. He's like, yeah. I'm like, how bad? Bad. No. Mold over everything in the attic. Top, bottom, like it was, scale of the 1 to 5, it was at the 5 stage. The sellers had this house on the market for 200 days. Here I am, a willing, an able buyer. I am so excited. My kids have been at the house picking out their bedrooms. And now there is a huge mold issue that if they had just done the research in the beginning, they would have been able to take care of it well in advance. So needless to say, because we went back and forth, now we're negotiating, right? We're in this process. And unfortunately, the transaction didn't come together. So the importance of making sure of doing a home inspection report does have its weight and its value. For myself, when I sold our house as well, we went through and we did a full home, full inspection. It came out great. When buyers came in as well, when they were coming in and offering, we told them that. There was a few buyers who said, you know what, we might actually waive home inspection if you feel as though that, and if you could share that with us. So there's a lot of aspects to think about. Some, we didn't go down that road, but it's making sure that you're opening up that availability for that communication, and as well making sure that you're putting your sellers in the best light to sell a property. Any questions?
Are you telling them that, when are you telling them that? Are you telling them that in your pre-listing package, or are you telling them that when you go to sit down and talk to them and review their house?
Yep, so one of the aspects too is in the pre-listing package, I will put something about, a home, have you thought about having a home inspection sheet in there? Just to start the conversation, to plant the seed, because that's something that goes a little bit off script over what a seller is normally told what to do in mainstream. So I'm planting that seed. When the conversation does come up, this is the reasons why that I go through it with them when we do get to that listing conversation as to what we're doing, but I'm making sure the seed has been planted in advance for them as well. And then having that conversation with them. I know. Poor kids. My son was cried the other day. He's like, why? I wanted to be in a neighborhood. I'm like, sorry. As well.
Is he that dramatic also?
Yes, he is. Tears and all.
Dramatic. Theatrical.
It's theatrical. There we go. Dramatic is theatrical.
But was part of that the sellers wouldn't fix it? Or?
Yeah, and it was extremely extensive. And if it had been taken care of, mind you, once again, it had been on the market for over 200 days. They had plenty of time to potentially have taken care of this. If it had been taken care of, it probably would have come together, but it was nowhere near being taken care of. And your heart went out because this was an elderly couple. They were looking to downsize. They had already selected a property. Like, there was things that just couldn't come together on it that, truth be told, wish we could have come together on it, but that was just, not doing some background information, doing some check on a property. And we don't want to be that agent on the other side, right? I don't want to be that listing agent that has a property that's been on the market for 200. You finally get somebody in the door and then you can't get it to close as well. So the importance of making sure that you have that information done beforehand. Everyone says you can't until you do. This is one of Stacy's great quotes that she utilizes around that she shares with us. Then everyone wants to know the key to your success, right? And, the key is that you just didn't listen to everybody, right? You went and you blazed your own trail. Pre-listing packages are one of those things. Making sure that you do the little things before you get to have that full conversation with sellers. Whether it's planting the seed, giving them the information at first, identifying what personality that you're going to be speaking with when you do sit down at the table is huge. Because once you have that information, you gain that knowledge and insight, it makes the listing presentation go so much smoother. You've already made a connection, right? You've already joked about how the wife got flowers and the husband didn't send them, right? So we've had this bonding experience. You've already planted a potential seed in regards to a home inspection. You've also shared with them all the documents that you're going to be asking them to sign at that listing appointment. So those are really important steps to really help move the listing presentation through to a successful closing. The biggest aspect that I remind everybody is in the pre-listing interview is really to gain sight as to that personality that you're dealing with. Knowing who it is that you will be sitting across the table with will help you. So if I'm sitting across the table and the seller is, jiggling their legs and they're antsy, right? It means I've, once again, power personality, I'm taking too long. I need to wrap this up, right? I don't need to have a big, long listing conversation. That seller, they might be only a 1, instead of a 2 visit, they might only be a 1 visit. That party personality that we were talking about before, they want 2, right? They want to, if it's a great interaction connection, they're going to want 2. So it allows us to adjust and know how we can be of service onto the seller when we're going and meeting with them. Any other questions for this?
So you're pre-listing, you're dropping off a package, and then you're going to meet with them to basically walk through the house and meet them. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You set a lot of groundwork there ahead of time. So
Exactly. Exactly. So that pre-listing package and that pre-listing gift speaks volumes. It's and it's worth the $35-$40 to have a gift brought over and sent over. Yes. Anything else for questions? All right. What's that?
Are you set?
All right. Yeah, I'm good. So thank you. I hope this is really insightful. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me. You can find me in the Career Den /Jostle, because we call it both. You can find me there. Feel free to text, email, call. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to pause. Welcome back, everyone. We were just switching gears from pre-listing to listing presentation, and I'd like to introduce Karen Pelletier, who is a new agent with us, but not a new agent to real estate. She's from the southern New Hampshire area and very experienced in training, and she's going to go through listing presentation now that we've learned about pre-listing. So, Karen?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's certainly a tough act to follow, I have to say, but I'm glad to be here, and thanks for asking me. There were so many great points that she made, and I always think it's really important to go to as many training classes as possible, even if you've been selling real estate forever, because you can always learn something new that you might take away and go, hey, I love that idea. Let's just go take that idea and move on to give it a go and see if that works something for you. Never a time to stop learning. Always one good thing. To further a little bit more on what she said about personalities, things that I do a little bit more before I go to the listing is, it's great when you're talking to somebody on the phone and you're setting up the appointment. You can learn a lot about somebody from that point, but call me a stalker. I go on social media and I look them up. I go on Google and I look them up. I try to learn about who these people are that they're not telling me. So, yes.
Do you use LinkedIn as well?
I do. Yeah, I use every resource out there. I'll start with Google. I'll Google the name and the town that they're from. I'll pull their town reports, city reports online. If you've never done that before, it's a great resource to get the basics about the house. I'll use the title companies. A lot of them will give you deeds on the property ahead of time, so you can actually see if there's any easements, any other shared, anything about the deed that you should know before you go there that could affect the listing price, right? Because you are starting to form that whole thing. But I go online to LinkedIn, Facebook, I Google, any place that I can go to try and learn about my audience. It's important to know, I think, the personality part of it, but it's also important to know who the people are, right? More of are they an engineer? Are they religious people? Are they, and I'm not saying you're going to, be prejudiced to that point of view, but it's to be able to speak to it. So I'll tell you, is so many different stories you could tell being in real estate this long, but one of the mistakes I made at a closing was I came with, what do you usually give? A celebratory bottle of wine, right? Or a celebratory bottle of champagne. Well, two instances. One of them was a reformed alcoholic. And he just looked at me and said, thanks, but why don't you drink it? So not knowing who your audience is super, super important. One thing I noticed when I've gone to different houses as well and talking to people is you can always tell who the dominant personality is. And some people of some different nationalities don't want you to talk to a certain party. They want you to look at them. And if you're not paying attention to them, they're turned off immediately. So know who your audience is what I'm saying. To learn up front as much as you possibly can and pay attention to the cues that you're being given, okay, by the people when you go in and meet them at the door. One really great class that I took, and a lot of them are not credited classes that I've taken, that I learned the most about, but body language, right? When somebody's turned towards you or somebody's leaning into you, you've got their interest. Mm-hmm. Stay with it. You know that they're listening to you. Okay? So it's really super important to know those types of things as best you can. Take classes on it. Learn about it. Learn about the different body language. Somebody turns away or somebody sits back. Those are cues. Those are cues that you can take. All right? A little off key here with the listing presentation, but so being new to Lair, a lot of this stuff is new presentations. A lot of it's still the same types of stuff that I would do. I sometimes like Leon, I'm sorry, how do you say Ilona was saying, sometimes you can go in with a pre-listing presentation and end up walking out with the listing. So do your research before you go to the actual listing itself. Have a figure in mind, and then when you walk through the door and they show you around, you'll be able to say, okay, well, this house, I was thinking it was going to be 500. I'm walking in and, oh my God, they need to do so much cleaning out, and even then paint, the windows are cracked or something's going on with that. And you can adjust in your mind fairly well, know about your adjustments with marketing, you know, CMAs and stuff, about go up 5,000, down 10,000, you know, and then you'll have a fairly good mark, because I can guarantee you, you're not going to walk out of there waiting for them to tell you whether or not you're going to get the listing if you don't know what that price is when you walk out of there. They're going to ask you, so what do you think, right? And you're going to give them the whole presentation, and then you're not going to know, have a really good idea what you're going to be putting out there, okay? So our partnership, arrow down, you said? Mm-hmm. All right. So this is great. This is I call it like my mission statement. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to talk to the people, and this is kind of like my mission. I'm going to go over all of these different bullet points as part of my presentation. So your cover sheet, right? So I can't say enough. Don't read. You know, a lot of people have the sheets, they'll give them to them, or you'll have a laptop type of a thing. Don't go in there and read it to them. They can read. You want to talk to them personally. You don't want to talk to them and read it out and say, this is what I've got to give to you. You want them to learn about you too. Because the relationship, you may not be able to give them everything they want to hear, but it's still about trust. So you're trying to tell them about what I'm going to do for you. You know you're going to be able to call me and I'm going to be there for you. You know you're going to ask me a question and I may or may not know the answer, but you know what? I have the resources to go to and find the answers to those questions, and you'll be able to trust me, right? Isn't that a huge deal? You're spending thousands of dollars, not just selling the house, but paying me in commission. You need to trust me, right? And I need to trust you. We need to have a very good relationship. So try not to read this to them, but go over the points about what it is that it's saying to them, okay? So let's try the next one. I know I'm going to go a little bit fast here. So I'm going to slow down. I'm going to say, so my pride. I love this slide. I love this about Lair. I've taught many new agents in my time about it's not just about you. It's about who you have behind you, who you have on your team. You may or may not know anything about real estate when you first come in, right? But you always have a background. So I've sold one house. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I've sold one house, but I'm still qualified because I have a team. I have my pride. I have my lions. I have Lair. And it's such an important thing to know that it's not just I've sold 1 million houses, but I'm a person who follows through, okay? I've got a team behind me, right? So I have attorneys. A lot of people don't have a whole background, a repertoire of the concierge, which is the next slide, that Lair provides you. Excellent resources there. Because I've been in the business so long, I kind of have my own little concierge list. But this is an excellent supplement to what I have, okay, or what you may or may not have, coming from a different background, right? So some people are teachers, some people are firemen, or you have a background. So use that as part of your presentation, right? Letting them know who you are. You have attorneys, you have mortgage originators, we have people in-house that can help you. I love this coffee team thing. I call it coffee. But I love the opportunity that this presents because a lot of real estate agencies now don't have somebody sitting there at the office. They don't have people that are great with getting marketing materials and things like that together. They go right to a call center and who are you talking to? Here's where you need to hang up and call back, or so they just don't feel the personal touch, right? You've got a really great team here at Lair, that the admins and the people in the office that are great at helping you. And I learned from doing Happy Agent. I have to say I did it the first time a couple of days ago. And I wasn't quite sure how I was going to react or if I was going to get a response right away. And not only did I get a response fairly quickly, but Stacy responded as well. So I was kind of nervous about that when I came to Lair because I wasn't sure if that was going to be a good thing or a bad thing. And I quickly learned it was a great thing. So that coffee team, knowing when you walk through a door at a Lair office, that's really great. And that's a great selling point for people. I want to drop a check off at your office. Okay, well, you have to leave it in an outside box. Where's the personal part of that? I'm going to leave a check in an outside box. Is it a secure box, right? They're going to walk into an office 90% of the time and see a friendly face at the front office. So use that as part of the tools. It's a personal touch to the plan. So Stacy's been excellent. For me, I haven't been with the company for very long, and I'm not trying to sell everybody on Lair, but I'm very impressed about how things have gone since I first started with Lair. Even been in the business for so long, it's great to see other people and the way that they do things and learn from it. And I've learned a lot even just being here for such a short period of time. So we spoke about the concierge. You've got a great list there. If you have your own people, I put together my own list of concierge. I call it my trusted partners list. They are people that I've used personally, or every time I talk to a client and they have to have something done, or they're in the business of something, flooring, painting, anything, curtains, anything, I always ask them, who have you used? I could possibly add them to my trusted partners list. The only people who go on my trusted partner list are people either I've done business with or my clients have said, these people are excellent, you should use them. So I put them on my trusted partners. I'm not saying I'm not guaranteeing that they're gonna do great for you. We all know that. But having a good backup or a good plan to give to these people if anything is ever needed. Not doing a home inspection ahead of time, of course. But it's still nice to have them together and be able to provide that service. So concierge, they've got a whole list of concierge here. Let them know about that. It's such a huge value. A lot of times I'll walk out of a listing appointment and they'll say, I need my carpet shampooed. Do you know anybody? You know, I want to have my floor painted in the basement to make sure it's all nice and clean before I put my house on the market. Do you know of somebody? They need people and they want referrals, right? Same thing with real estate agents. They love it, having somebody refer an agent to you because they've got a background with somebody that they know. Same kind of thing. The concierge are excellent. I think it works terrific. Talking about the power. So I go over this a lot with new agents as well. We've got over 500 agents now. I don't think I was number 500, but I think I was pretty close. I think I was, wasn't I?
Probably.
I think I was like 499. But I think it's really important to let them know that although you're, one agent that's sitting in front of them, you're not standing here alone. You've got other people. Even, I'll tell you, after 27 or 23 years in the business, every transaction's different, and I still go to everybody, not everybody, but people that I do business with a lot or transactions and just bounce something off of them to ask them a question. Hey, this has happened to me. Have you ever come across this before? And it's great to have that and express that to the people that says, you know what, I don't know everything. I've got a great team, 500 agents in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. That's a strong background, and it shows a lot about what Lair's achievements are. Okay. Going over this again. These are the slides, the actual listing slides, and they're terrific. Going over, top 10 brokerage in New England, Risk Media Power Broker. You also can become a Risk Media Power Broker. I actually am. I got interviewed by Risk Media, and they did a write-up on me. An article was done about 6 months ago. I never knew how to do it, and I went online from a class that I had taken and learned how to publish articles. And eventually, after you publish, 5 or 10, and they'll see you, they'll notice you. That is great to put into your pre-listing package, your listing package themselves. Great information for them to find that you're a reputable person. Okay. Real trends, top 100 independent in the U.S. There's a lot of big brokers, power brokers out there, Century 21, Remax, the whole thing. But to be an independent and be in the top 100 in the country, that's impressive. And people will recognize that. Definitely good information. I love this roar. 15,000 transactions, that's awesome. When I first made the switch over, people were like, you're not going to roar when you answer the phone, are you? But it is something, right? But it is a great brand, a great thing to let people know. I've got people behind me. So that's really what the whole marketing strategy is, I believe, with Lair. It's terrific. So, big question here. Are you ready? You know what the difference between a real estate agent and a realtor is? No, you can't answer. You've been in the business way too long. Do you know? Okay.
Code of ethics.
Ooh.
You are pretty close. We're going to say that is one of the main features of the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent, okay? Real estate agents are licensees, licensed in Mass, licensed in New Hampshire, licensed in any state in the world, in the country. A realtor is a paying member, a membership with the National Association of Realtors, right? National Association, State Association, and Local Association. You are paying to be able to call yourself a realtor. You're going through training with the realtor organization. When you first got your license and you joined LAIR, if you hadn't gone through realtor orientation at the board, local board level, they'll give you all the values of the being a realtor member. To be able to translate that to the people that you're sitting down with and give that power of your knowledge. It's about education. It's about people cooperating with each other. And the main thing is the code of ethics. Okay, so that is one of the things. A fiduciary responsibility, when I look at this slide, and go through this, make sure that you do it so you can explain it and people can believe it and they know that you know what you're talking about. But a fiduciary responsibility isn't necessarily a realtor, it's an agent. A fiduciary, a financial responsibility to the seller. And when they sign a contract with you, it's a contract both ways, right? With them and with you, that you are going to be by their side. You're going to keep everything they tell you confidential, their finances, everything was 100% confidential, okay? You look at your brokerage disclosures that you have to give the sellers, which you should be giving them, right? When you sit down with them, that's the first thing you give them, right? They have to know up front, I'm not working for you right now. Careful what you tell me, because if you don't give me the listing, sometimes I use that, but if you don't give me the listing and I go out there and you list with somebody else, I could bring a buyer in here and I know all about you. When you say that to somebody, I can guarantee you most agents that have been in there, if they've interviewed other people, they've never told them that. They've never given them the disclosure. So it speaks volumes to who you are, how knowledgeable you are, and how trustworthy you are. When you are upfront with them, go over everything with them. That's all part of the fiduciary responsibility when they sign a contract with you. There's a lot of value in that. Okay? Ever-changing regulations, that's all part of licensing and keeping yourself educated. Realtors have much more broad availability to go and take classes because the realtor organization is just phenomenal, I think, in providing. A lot of people don't realize the benefits of being a realtor and the free tools that they have out there. I have, in all of my years, and I'm sure Susan can speak to this, and you've done some real estate, there's no transaction that's ever the same, is there? No. Not one. I mean, you can say, oh, yep, I've done this, the inspection, I've negotiated a few things, and we've closed it. But there's always something different in every transaction, even right down to the personalities, the people that you're dealing with, and how you go back and forth. So being experienced, letting them know that every transaction is different, but I've got your back. It's very important to let them know that just because there's something different going on, it's not a bad thing, right? So I understand that. I work with that. Even if you're not in real estate for a very long time, you can use other things in your background to say why you're trustworthy, why they should be working with you, right? I use that all the time, especially with going out. I mentor agents that are new in the business, and I always tell them, you know what? You haven't sold a lot of real estate, but here I am sitting here right beside you. Use those people if you're not feeling comfortable going out and doing a listing presentation by yourself.
I think another thing about explaining the realtor slides is they see these commercials on TV about why work with a realtor, and sometimes they may be wondering what are the differences, so these slides do help explain that.
It does. It absolutely does. Yep. The realtor membership is so valuable if you use it. If you don't, everybody thinks a real estate agent and a realtor are the same thing. There's a lot of benefits to being a realtor. I used to teach the orientation, so I have a whole spiel, but I digress. All right, so this next slide speaks to a lot of people and their background. So I know you have a little bit of a background in construction and things like that. When you go out to look at a house and walk through the house with somebody, part of the value of your past is to be able to recognize things, to be able to say, like she was saying before, it's something as simple as putting a cover plate on, get ready for the house to go on the market. But it's also important to know when a house was built, okay, and to recognize back in this day or this area, time frame, things were bad with, in this specific instances, with the plywood or with the polybutylene piping, okay? Those were back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. So this is when the house was built. This is the area that problems were coming up. That's experience. That comes with knowing what's going on out in the market, okay? So keeping yourself educated, going to classes that are not necessarily CEUs, but just things about like body language and things like that, construction, inspections, will all keep you up to date and be able to provide value to these sellers. So when you're sitting down talking to them, you'll be able to go all over this, okay? And give them value for that, okay? Pricing a home. Oh my God, this is so crazy from one year to the next or one decade to the next. So you have to know what's going on in the market and the pricing and where it's at. So right now, I tell everybody, you want to price your house at what the last house is sold for. It's the market. What's that going to do? And the actual more slides about your herd and stuff are coming up about how to properly price your home in this particular market. To know the trends of real estate, do your research, know what's going on with the trends of real estate, and then you can speak to them knowledgeably about what's going on with the pricing of homes. Do your market research statistics online that Lair provides you, so you know, are we still in an uptrend? Is that market that you're going to sell their house in, is that still going up? Or is it coming down? Or is it level, flat out? Those statistics that are in there are great to print off and bring as part of your listing presentation and show them exactly what's going on, what's trending with the prices of the houses. So showing them that in this slide again is great information for them. So I believe when you're going out to a listing presentation, you're not trying to tell them what to do, you're educating them so they can make an educated decision, okay? And doing that, you're building trust, you're building a relationship with them. I love that flower thing. That is an awesome thing. One new thing, I just think that's fantastic. I'm gonna be using that. I am. It's really a great thing. Contracts and negotiations, finding the right home. It is the fun part, but there's a lot of paperwork behind it. We know that out of all the agents out there, about 5% of the agents out there do 90% of the business. So know what's going on, understand your contracts, sit down with somebody and make sure that even an attorney, and you have attorneys at your availability, sit down with the attorneys and go over them. Make sure you understand every word that's being said, because someday your seller or your buyer is going to ask you, what does this mean? And this is your job. Know your contracts. I think it's a great idea. I do this myself. I usually go ahead and give copies of the contracts and all the documentation out at the time. I might write sample across it so they can't use it somewhere else or on their own if they decide to go for a for sale by owner. But I always go over the paperwork with them so they know what to expect. If they have any questions, they'll be able to understand what's going on ahead of time. Okay? Code of ethics. Have you all taken your code of ethics recently? Right? Yeah. So do we need to talk more about that? You understand what the code of ethics is all about. It speaks to who you are as well. So make sure you tell them all about that. Bring a copy of the code of ethics with you if you want. Leave it with them. Let them know that you are an ethical person. Do unto others as they do unto you, but don't trash them, right? We're going to make sure we do the best we can for them, all right? Code of ethics is very powerful. Oh my God, this to-do list is so extensive. I love it. I absolutely love this list. It's in Stacy's book too, the
7 Secrets.
the 7 Secrets. I recently read the book and I read it twice because I just think it's such great information. Like I said, you can never learn enough and keep reading about different things. But if you're going to use this to-do list as it is, and you're sitting down with an engineer, they're going to read through every single one of those. I just want you to make sure you know what they all are, or at least Take something out, add something in. This is not a absolute have to use it this way. Tailor it for yourself. Make it, add to it, take away, whatever you feel comfortable with. But if you're going to use this entire list, make sure that you do all those things, because they'll be checking them off, and that you understand what each and every one of them is. Okay? I can't tell you that strong enough. Don't get caught, because then you're not trustworthy. Okay? Make sure you understand what each and every one of these are. It's really powerful. I mean, 70 hours. I bet you spend more than that on every transaction, to be quite honest with you. And not necessarily all these things, but they're all available to you. Okay? 4,200 minutes. I think that translates to 70 hours in total. But it sounds better, right? All right, Lair versus the competition. Why choose me and Lair? I think we've gone over a lot of reasons why they would choose a Lair agent and you, as opposed to any other team out there. But these are great tips to go over as well. You know, sign calls. We were talking about that. You know, the agents and the admins that are sitting in the office, they're answering the calls. They're not going to some call center in Connecticut or overseas. They're actually talking to a real live person. And to let them know that those calls, when they come in on your listing, you're getting those calls. You're the person who's knowledgeable. That's all about the designated agency. And they want the people who know about the property to be able to speak to them, right? So sign calls going to you, very important. And it's a great tip, a great tool to tell your sellers, I'm going to be handling all those calls. I'm going to be able to answer the questions on the property. Okay? One thing I say, I would change this a little bit. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. If you're going to talk about another firm, never talk about the firm themselves, the name of the firm themselves. It never looks good on you when you talk about other people and use yourself to puff that up, okay? You always want to make sure you just say, we have this, I have this. This is one thing that I don't think my competitors do, all right? Never speak to any specific agency. It never looks good, right? It's just like talking behind your best friend's back. It doesn't work, okay? Don't get caught in that. But talk about you. Talk about your benefits, okay, and Lair's benefits. So being a qualified agent, having another listing agent, does that agent have another listing they would rather sell? You know, again, you have to believe what you're presenting, so go over this. If this doesn't work for you, change it up to what you believe and what you're going to say, all right? So you'll never have any concerns at Lair. Just make sure that what you're saying is something that they're going to believe, okay? Controlling your destiny. This property transaction is controlled by you and me at other firms the manager decides with the property. So I think real estate trends right now are going more and more to the individual with the backup. And that speaks to what I was saying before about if you don't get what you want out of me, you always know you can call my company and speak to my broker owner or my manager, and they're going to talk to you directly. But to know that you always have backup is really important to people, to let them know. A lot of companies, you're not going to talk to them. A lot of agents won't even let them know. Be confident in who you are when you do that presentation, and these people are going to love you. They're going to trust you. It doesn't have to always be like, I know it all, you know everything. You have the resources to back you up and use them, okay? All right, design team. I love their marketing. I haven't gone through everything. I still have a lot to learn about their marketing, all the stuff that they have available. I'm so used to doing so much on my own that this is a great tool. It saves me a lot of time and a lot of money. Having an admin that can do a lot of this stuff for you, even down to the photocopying and getting your open house packages, that's valuable and it's professionally done. So use those tools and let them know just how professional they are. I know she said that before that she had copies in her pre-listing package of some of the advertisements and some of the open house flyers and things like that they're using. That's great information to give to your seller to convince them this is your house. Picture your house there.
Yeah, and to make a connecting point about what Ilona said, when she goes to drop something off, she takes a picture of the front of the house.
And she adds a picture.
Then you could go into the Lair Marketing Center, make a flyer,
Great
and then
idea.
when you go for the listing presentation,
Yep.
you're taking a flyer that has a picture of their house in it, and they're like, it's a reality, here we are.
Right, absolutely.
You just need to insert the listing price.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even more powerful by putting those in there. That's great. Yeah, as part of the actual listing presentation. Yeah. Yep. Great resource. I'm actually using this in a listing I'm getting in a week. They're Matterport. Are you familiar with what Matterport is? Are you guys?
Not really.
Okay. So you know the typical photography. They go in, they snap pictures. They might use a wide angle lens so you can see a bathroom might look like it's 20 feet wide now, which we know it isn't, obviously, in most cases. But the Matterport actually lets you take a tour of the property virtually. You're actually walking through the house, and you can tell it where to go. You know, you're going in the front door, take a left because there's a door here. You're going to pull that up?
Sure.
Oh, that's great. So it's like a virtual reality tour of you actually walking through, as opposed to looking at a virtual tour online, which will just show basically flashes of pictures of one room and then it'll transition to another room. That's not what this Matterport does. You're actually walking through. It actually has a cutout of the top of the house. Is that the one you're showing?
Well, it'll get, in a minute it'll get there.
So what it does is it opens it up. You can place yourself and then actually tell it where to walk through. You know.
So that's what that's called.
That's
I
Matterport.
thought you were talking about a town of Matterport
Oh,
on the
no. No. Photography. We're talking about the
Yeah.
photography. I apologize.
This I'm familiar with. It's awesome.
It's an incredibly valuable selling feature.
There it is.
And look at how that.
I love this.
So in an era of how people are finding houses these days, they're doing it online. They're finding the house online first and then calling their agent and saying, I want to go see this house. I want to see it live. What a great feature to be able to literally walk through the house without walking physically through the house, right? So are you going back to the beginning?
I'm trying to get back to you. Yeah, I will.
Oh, okay. So Matterport, they can do drone shots, great photography shots. These are all great selling points to your seller. They think these things are the greatest things since peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And they do floor plans too. So when you have them go out there and do the photography, if you want to spend the money to do the Matterport and have them do floor plans, people love that. When you're taking a listing, you should absolutely use this in your listing presentation, because I bet your seller has been online looking for where they're going to be moving to and not seeing room dimensions.
And that's in the concierge?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the Layer 3D, yep.
So Layer 3D is Matterport.
Yes,
It contains Matterport photography, right?
and I think the floor plans is a great point to make for listing presentations, to say that this is part of what I will do for you.
Right.
Not only does the homeowner think it's great to put in your listing, but the appraiser loves
Yeah.
getting the floor plans.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, but the sellers, they love it because they want their listing to be top notch, but they also want to see that somewhere else as well. You know, they want other people to do the same things that are exactly what they want their buyers. And buyers love it. They're going to go in and say, they're not going to waste the seller's time, is really what it's all about. I'm not going to go in to a house thinking I'm going to see this beautiful master bedroom and it turns out to be 10 by 10, but I don't know that because it's not in the listing. Okay? I love this feature. This is absolutely phenomenal. Syndication. You understand what syndication is? So when you put your listing in MLS, a lot of syndication happens from the MLS, both Mass, New Hampshire. The MLSs will syndicate, but the company themselves have to subscribe to a lot of the syndications. Lair subscribes to far more than I've ever seen, which I think is fantastic. The typical ones through your MLSs would be like Realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia. New Hampshire doesn't do RPR yet, so that's hopefully coming, but they just don't have the town support yet to get that all done. New York Times, HotPads is good for, I think they use that mostly for rentals. But great syndications here. A lot of people, this is knowing your audience again. If you have older sellers sitting at your home, they're used to the realtor magazines, news, print media. Know your market and say, I can even do newsprint. If that's what makes you happy and that's where you think visibility is going to be best for you, then great. But know that most people start online. They're going to start on Zillow, Trulia, hopefully Lair, and your own app that you're going to give them. Hopefully they have smartphones, but the older people don't. So letting them know that you'll put this in the real estate book, you'll put it in the New York Times. There's a lot of people come from out of town. So knowing that that information is going to be there is very important to some people, especially the older generation. Okay, so make sure you let them know everything. But again, if you're saying it, you got to make sure it happens, because they will check. All right? Can't say that enough. Social media marketing. I use this so much. There are a lot of companies out there now that will do it for you. You can do it yourself. You can put it all over your Facebook pages. If you don't have a Facebook page, business page, you absolutely should have one in this business. That's where things are going. And your sellers, if they have social media of any kind, they're going to be looking for it. They're going to want to know what you're doing out on social media to advertise it out. So you'll have a personal page. You don't need to give them access to your personal page, but have a business page, okay? And advertise their listing out on the business pages, okay? Instagram just came out with business pages, I think, recently too. So you can get I don't have one yet, but Instagram business page. LinkedIn is an excellent source as well. I actually go on to Facebook and I put it out to yard sales in the areas that I think people are going to be interested in that. Years ago, I created on Facebook, and I only have my towns that I do my majority of my business in, but you can create a Facebook group, okay? So if you're from Tewksbury, Massachusetts, you can create a Facebook group for the town for Tewksbury, Massachusetts. Get as many people as you know to join that group. You are the manager of that group, and post all of your listings in the area around Tewksbury in there. Invite people to join. I usually have a lot of the tradespeople join because they're always trying to help people with their services. Whether it be car cleaning or, power washing the houses or rebuilding a deck or whatever. Social media is a huge power, and to let them know that you have access to all of that, you're innovative, and that you're going to use that innovation to expose their house to the market, get more buyers in there, very powerful. Talk about what you're going to do for social marketing. They know that's a very powerful tool. Yeah.
Another thing about the Lair Marketing Center is that when you, whatever you produce, whether it's a flyer or a postcard or whatever, you can post right to social media from the Marketing Center to Facebook and Twitter.
Yep. Yep, you absolutely can. If you're going to do your own, even Facebook, you can get an IDX search right on your own Facebook page. So people can go right to your Facebook page to do a search. Always keeping them as close to you as possible is the best way to go. If they're out searching Zillow and Trulia and everything else, the chances of their call going to somebody on there, not you, is much greater. So always try to bring people in to your own listing, to your social media, to your website, through IDX searches as well. Okay, I have one on my Facebook. It doesn't cost anything. As long as you have a Facebook page, business page, you can subscribe through Facebook for an IDX search to post listings on your page or be able to do searches. Okay, it's kind of like an MLS without looking like an MLS. Okay, Waze. This is a new feature. You guys familiar with Waze? You are? Do you use it?
I use it to get here.
Did you really? Yeah?
Yeah, it tells me where the cops are, so.
Does it really?
Yeah, it's user reported, so I sometimes report if police are off on the side of the road, but it's a nice little warning about a mile away that there's a cop coming up, so.
Yeah. Wow.
Drive human.
I've never used it for that, but that's interesting. Do you guys know what Waze is? Yeah. I don't know a ton about it. I know that when you open up Waze and you advertise your listings, you can subscribe to advertise it on Waze as well. So do you see a lot of houses when you're out there on Waze, showing when you're driving by a house that's on the market?
I'm going way too fast.
Oh, are you? And therein lies why you need the need the notifications.
So we have a contract with Waze that
Do you?
shows all of our listings.
Yeah.
So if you're driving by a Lair listing, you can pull up all the details of it.
Is that what's powering Den Finder? No. So I have Waze, but it's good to know that Lair provides that because I didn't know that. But I have Waze on all my advertising I use through HomeSnap. So you can advertise out on Facebook, Instagram, and Waze through that way as well. So Lair provides a lot of tools. It saves you a lot of money in your marketing if you know about it. And now I do. The Den Finder app, I think this is fantastic. Every time you first talk with somebody, send them a link to your app so they can use it, and that way when they're out there looking at houses and they're using your app and they want to go see a house, it's going to come right to you. For sellers, the value is tremendous there to know that every time they're out there looking for a property, because they've got to find a place to go as well, that they know that they can be in easy contact with you. I've used it a couple of times already, and it's great, easy to get to. So to know that other buyers are out there with that app and be able to get in contact with you directly is a great feature. Okay, just learned about this. I think this is a fantastic feature. I always knew about sustainability, solar power, all different kinds of green. There's even a designation for green living with NAR that you can get. I always knew that existed, but I didn't know about this Pearl designation or Pearl certification that they've partnered up with. So I've done a little bit of reading on it. Maybe you can expand a little bit more on the
So again, in the library, in the Career Den, we have an entire section on everything green. And we are the first residential real estate company in the United States to have a sustainability division. And we have we have partnered with Pearl Certification, which was a NAR REACH awarded company a couple of years ago. And they will come in and certify your home. It's great advertising. You can get 3 different levels of certification. And it's great to put in your marketing to say, this is a Pearl certified home. And they have great marketing materials too. So we have some new initiatives that have just come out that we will be presenting to the company. We are also going to be teaching some greens classes in April, and also we'll be teaching the NAR Green certification again as well. So a lot coming up with that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. A lot of people, a lot of agents, even you can take a lot of classes, but you really don't understand what the value of green can do to a home. So if your seller has any kind of green features, I strongly suggest that you get in touch with them and make sure you understand what value adds to their house before you go out. Understand that. I know it added value, but I don't think the public quite understands enough, and with all of these information that they can supply and put in the listing package, buyers are going to understand and appreciate it a lot more. That is adding value to the house. Okay, so I think that's a very important feature to put out there. 5% is huge. I think it's a huge value. So community. Lair does a lot of community charitable contributions. You yourself can do your own. If you're doing anything on your own, put it in there. Okay, if you are part of a Rotary Club or something like that and you do fundraising for your community, put that in there, add that in there. But you do have quite a substantial Lair background here about charitable things that they do for the community. It's very important to get connected with the community. Aside from just getting referrals from people that you know, when people see your name out there all the time doing charitable things for the community, you're giving back to the community, you're more apt to get more referrals from that. So get involved in the community. Let them know that you're giving back to the community. It adds a lot of value and speaks to who you are as a person. Okay, I do a lot for the Rotary Club. I've been a Rotarian for years. I love what we do, and it's I call it a thankless kind of a job, because Rotarians don't do it for recognition of what they've done. They're doing it because they want to do it for the community. So I tell everybody, and you'll find out a lot more people are Rotarians than what you think. They just don't advertise it out. So put those kinds of things in there. It speaks to who you are. Do your local strawberry festival, your book fairs. Go out there, provide a service to the people, and let them know that you're there to help them with their houses. And you probably get more sellers from that as well, and buyers. Okay, I love this. They have the Lion inflatable bouncy house. So I saw that, and my community does like a spring stroll, if you will, up at the local park. And, to get all the baseball people together, basketball people to help promote the local park. So I'm going to rent that thing.
Happy agent.
Absolutely. And I'm going to rent it and do that up there. What a great visibility. People will love it. They'll all want to bring their kids over. And what are they going to do? They're going to talk to you while their kids are in the bouncy house, right? So use it. It's a great tool. It's a great tool. Larry University, let them know that you are constantly improving your knowledge. All the different classes that you've taken. If you've got any designations, put that into the presentation as well. Even if there aren't designations, there are a lot of classes out there that will give you the knowledge. So list all the classes that you think are going to be important to them and let them know that you're well qualified, okay? RPR, I know about it. We don't have it in New Hampshire, so I know you've recently gotten certified, Susan, to teach that. So that's something that's going to be up and coming. Dot loop, what the benefits of dot loop are going to be. It's easier to transact. They don't have to come in every time they need to cross something out and reinitial it or any kind of negotiation changes. They can do everything online. It's easy as talking to them on the telephone and letting them know exactly what's going on and that you're going to be sending the form to exactly to that effect. It saves a lot of time. People are all about saving time these days. MA Pass, so New Hampshire has showing time. We use showing time in Massachusetts. Yeah. So MA Pass, so be able to let them know about the ability to set up showings is so easy for people, agents, to make it as easy as possible for people to show the house, but have a good record of who's showing your house. So if anything ever happened, if you have an alarm system or whatever, it all can be, put into the showing availability, let them know what's going on. They'll contact the seller direct, or you can have them contact you, whatever works best for you, what you're going to do to make this transaction as easy as possible for them, okay? Pricing right. We can talk about pricing right till the cows come home, boy. We kind of got into a little bit of it, but have all of your comps and explain what your comps are. So I always tell people you want 3 active, 3 pending, and 3 sold. And you want to explain that why you're doing that way. Is that something you guys do? Yeah. So why do we have solds? Well, obviously you want to absolutely know what's sold, right? You're also looking at how many days the house was on the market before it went to pending, because that'll tell you basically, did it absolutely price right? Okay, you can also tell by what it was listed for as to what it was sold for. Talk about that to the people. Let them know pendings. Here's a house that was listed for $500, but it took 30 days in a market where we have less than 3 months of inventory. It took less than 3 days to go under agreement. So listed for $500 under agreement in 3 days. I bet they got all of $500, if not more. Okay. So pricing your house right, that all speaks to that. Go over how that all works, okay? On the market. It's not necessarily important to what they should list their house for, but it is important to let them know what their competition is, right? We want to go over that whole pricing strategy with them and say, okay, you want to list your house for $500,000. Your competition is at $490,000. Then nobody's going to come and look at your house, so, right? Your competition is telling you you're going to be overpriced to start. Your house might be worth $550,000. It's not going to matter. You need to be at a price point where similar houses, worse condition, are just going to make you look better, and everybody's going to come to your house. They're going to create that herd effect and the excitement for all these buyers coming into your house. Pricing is very important in this market. So little house out there, but so many buyers out there. Okay? Here's the herd effect. So I was just talking about making sure that it's priced properly. If you haven't gone through a appraisal class, I highly recommend that you do it. Understand what the adjustments can be done. So when you're showing your seller, your house has a 2-car garage under. Your comps that you have here have 2-car garages attached. Understand what the adjustments are and how to explain that to them. Okay, why is the value of a 2-car attached garage more than a 2-car under? I hate 2 cars attached. I want them under. Okay, well, I hate 2-car garage under. I want them attached. Why is that add value or take value away from a home, okay? Taking an appraisal class and being able to explain that to your seller is something that's very important. Again, it speaks to your knowledge of the market and the comps that are going to be you're going to be up against, okay? If you price it right, then there's going to create that herd effect. I tell people when I do listings, I'm pricing them right. I usually like to list my homes on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and I delay the showings until a Saturday or Sunday. So it builds up excitement. Everybody can take a look at it. They can plan to go to the open house. And then I open up the doors, and there's 10, 20 couples waiting outside. It creates excitement. That's where they want to be. If they price their house over the market or at the top end of their market, people aren't going to come. They're going to wait. They're going to watch until it comes down. And then what's it going to do to the price of the house? You need to explain this to them so they understand. If they're overpriced in this kind of a market, you're going to go out longer, and people are going to think something's wrong with it. Okay? So make sure you explain all that about, the mentality of getting people in. This slide speaks 100% to what I'm talking about. Market value at 60% of the people will come to take a look at it. If you go just a little bit lower, then you get a bigger audience. A little bit lower, you get a huge audience. They're creating that excitement and overbidding each other. Okay? Is there any questions about what this speaks to? How you're going to explain it to your sellers? Do you understand? Okay. Pricing the house. I always tell people when they first get into real estate, take a marketing course if you've never done one. Understand how marketing works, because really your job is 50%, if not more, of marketing, right? You're making sure that the house looks good. You're making sure that you're getting it out there to as many places as you possibly can get it. And you want to make sure that the price you put it in is something that is going to create the biggest audience of buyers. So like this is saying, if you think the house is going to sell for $525, $550, you want to put it at $499.9. I'm going to lose all this money. It's not the market for that. Know your market. And markets back in the 80s weren't quite that way. You couldn't get rid of a house back then, so it might be different in that specific instance. But in this one, if you want to sell a house for $510, listed at $499, everybody comes in, right? Creates that effect. Explain that to your sellers. I know some people don't want to buy into it. They don't trust it. But again, if you're building your trust as you're going through this whole presentation with them, they're going to believe you and they're going to give it a shot. And you can even tell them, I will tell you right now, I believe your house, 90%, call it whatever you want, is going to sell for $510. Then they'll believe it and they'll let you do it. Just be able to back it up. Okay? Know what your pricing is. Don't get creative with the price. Oh my God, I see this with some company, which I'm not going to say. They do price value ranging. And 777, some sellers think it's great. It draws attention. It doesn't draw any attention. Don't let them tell you to do that kind of pricing. It is so distractive. It narrows your buyers down when you do that. So 78777, anybody who's searching for 780,000, they're not going to see it. Anybody searching for 785,000, not going to see it. They don't go by price breaks of 78777, right? It's the worst marketing ploy ever. Price value ranging, another stupid thing. Well, what is a buyer going to do when they see that? They're going to go for the lowest one, right? Because you put it out there already. To me, it says the seller is willing to take 700 if that was the bottom of my value range. So don't buy into that. Don't let them talk you into that. You want to create an audience as large as possible, as close to the range that you want to sell that house for. All right? Do you know what I mean by that? Okay. All right. Contingency plans. Sometimes high expectations about the properties. I'm sorry, I'm still learning these.
This was the chicken and egg conversation. If we list your house today and it sells tomorrow, what would you do? Do you have a place to go?
Right. Okay, so you always want to come up with a plan. Understand what your buyer's motivation is, right? That always speaks to the actual price that you're going to sell. Do I need to sell fast? Can I let it linger a little bit, or I don't care if it ever sells? First of all, I would never take a listing that they don't care if it ever sells, because you're wasting your money and you're wasting your time. Okay, and let them know that. You know what? I understand where you're coming from. You're fishing. I'm not do yourself a favor. When you tell them I'm not the agent for you for something like that, they're going to say, well, why not? I want you. You know, it's just like buyer agencies or listings. I say, you know what? Let's just talk a little bit more. And yeah, but it's not intentional.
No.
When you're signing a contract with somebody, it's a two-way contract, right? So just as they have to figure out whether or not they want to hire you, don't you want to figure out whether or not you want to hire them or work with them? It's a two-way street. If you're getting into somebody you don't think you can work with, don't do it. Don't put yourself in a position, and everybody in the internet's going to know it. Everybody in your agency is going to know it. Everybody in the realtor organization is going to know it. It gets out. Word of mouth is a very small community. So don't put yourself in a position to look bad, all right? When you're serious about selling, I'm happy to talk to you, but I don't think I'm the right agent for you at this time. It works. People say, wait a minute, I do want to sell. So you're learning about their motivation. Let them know that pricing right, I'm your agent. If you're not priced right, you're not serious, I'm sorry, well, I'll come back another time when you're really ready to sell, okay? So always know where they're going, what they want to do. If they got to find another place to live, boy, you just scored two, right? But let them know, okay, well, let's do this. How are we going to close concurrently, right? We're going to list your house, sell. Do you have a place to go? If you don't, okay, well, let's look. And we know that when we do the listing, we have to make sure that it's subject to seller finding suitable housing, okay? It's very tough to get somebody to find a place to live in this market at the same time unless they have some relative they can go to live with. Rental, which are really tough too, right? Rentals are very tough that you can afford right now. So always talk about what they're going to do on the other end. Builds the trust. You're building an interest. You're building the relationship with them. They'll want to do business with you because you care about more than just selling their house, more about just collecting that commission on that house. You want to help them achieve something that's very important to them. Okay? Did I cover it all? Oh, good. Okay. Talking about your pricing strategy, I think I've kind of covered that. Always let them know that you're, just because you've signed the contract with you, that you're not gone away. You're always there. Every time they have a question, every time they have a showing, you're going to do your best to get them feedback and talk to them about it, not to take it personally. I always do a walkthrough of the house and kind of pre-stage with them. And one of the things that I tell them is you have to stop and take yourself out of it. You are now moving on to another property. This isn't personal. You need to take the pictures of yourselves down. You need to take the little bunny rabbit thing for your granddaughter and put it away. Or this hallway needs to be wide open. It fits for your lifestyle, but it's not going to fit for a buyer. They're going to have a hard time picturing themselves living in this house because you have so much decor that speaks to country or something like that, okay? So you need to constantly tell them feedback for the showings and saying they said this. Don't let them get personal about it. But you're always going to be calling them, talking to them, letting them know, you know, a house just came up on the market is now your competition. Or this house down the street that was your competition's now sold or under agreement. What did it sell for? How fast? Always keep them updated on market statistics to let them know that you're never going away. You're always going to be there. I always tell people, even after you close, you're not going to get rid of me. We're friends now. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but but I always let them know, no matter what, your real estate needs go far beyond just signing the listing contract or closing on the house. All right? Build your relationship with the seller. Okay? Be prepared to answer these questions. I think the pre-listing package, she said it pretty much all about all of this. You can reiterate it again. Ask them if they have any questions about that, going over what the company's market share is. I think that speaks a little bit more than to what your market share is. How many homes has your agency sold? This is all the statistics for Lair, letting them know that you have Lair in your corner there helping you out, keeping yourself educated on marketing, negotiating, and sales. Stacy wrote the book. Give them a copy of the book. I think that book is really good. Have you guys read it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really great information. She did a great job on that. I've read her other book, Reach, too, which Reach is good, and this one's much better. Give them a copy of the book. Let them know where you're coming from. Give them the mindset that Lair has created for you as well. Okay, very successful. So your commitment, our commitment. So this would be Lair's commitment. I can't stress you enough, just like I said to the very beginning, do not read this. Tell them what your commitment is to them. Let them know what their commitment. They can read all on their own. Put your own personal touch onto it, and let them know that you are committed to making sure that their house sells for the best price and the amount of time, the quickest amount of time, and also the next step, where they're going to go to. How can you help them with that, okay? Make sure you give them your commitment, and they will respect you 100% for that. I think that's pretty much all. I hope I know I kind of talked a lot, but
I'm going to show one more thing. Thank you very much, Karen.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
Wonderful. Wonderful perspective on this.
thank you.
One more thing, as long as we're on the subject of listing presentations, I just want to remind everyone that we have another program called Lair Automation, and I hope I still have it open. Yep. I just wanted to show this to you quickly. So when you get a new listing in Lair, this is what comes to you automatically from us. So if you're busy, don't have time to do anything else, you will get all of these things sent to you. And this is an improv. So you'll get a new listing, content created, distributed, notice sent to agent. You can change out the pictures if you want to. You can send the request back to your admin. But the 4 things that come to you are a listing flyer, an open house sign-in sheet. I'm drawing a blank at the moment. That's not what I was supposed to do. I think the 3rd thing might be an e-postcard, but the 4th thing is a website. So if you go into the Lair Marketing Center, you will see those 4 things that are about a specific listing that you've just gotten. You should get an email within 24 hours or so of the listing being done that Lair Automation has taken place. And those things will come to you completely done right away. So if you want to edit those, you can, or if you want to just use them because you've listed a house at the end of the week and you don't have that much time before the weekend and you're doing your first open house. Another program to use is Open House Pro. I use that program. I think it might be Open Home Pro. It is a free program. You can go into the App Store and get it. There are 3 reasons why I like it. Number 1, you can put it on your iPad or your desktop that you have at the open house. You can insert a couple of pictures and have a slideshow going the whole time. What's perfect about it, number 1, is that you just say touch to start it, and all they have to put in is their first name, last name, and email. What's the worst thing that happens when you're filling out open house sheets is you can't read their writing. So by them taking 2 seconds to type in their email address, you're done. Second thing that happens is when the open house is ended, at the end of the day, it sends a response to each of the people that have been at the open house saying, thank you for attending my open house. If you have any questions or if there's any other way I can help you, please let me know. Third thing that happens is Monday morning, that program, Open House Pro, sends you a complete list of all of the people that were there at your open house. Again, with their emails properly typed. So then you can capitalize on those leads and send another follow-up to them. Even if that house wasn't the house for them and they're looking for something else in the area, or what towns are you looking at, however you're going to do your lead follow-up, you've got that list from the open house to do. So it's a real foolproof program. I even think with the response that it sends on Sunday night that you are able to go in and edit the responses the way they're written and sent out. But that's why I like the program a lot, is because you're not asking them to handwrite the stuff. You can add questions to it. I know some people like to ask, are you working with an agent? You can add that question to them signing in if you want to. But that's it. That's it for listing presentations. If you have any questions at all, give me a call anytime. I'd be glad to go over the listing presentation with you again. And we will see you again tomorrow.